Hello, good day. Welcome back to Coding with Roo. And today I want to introduce you to Roo Code. Now, I've been using Roo Code for a while, and I've used other tools like it, and I I just simply switched and stick with Roo Code. Why do I think that Roo Code is such a game changer for any software developer? Well, let's jump in and find out. So let's get started. So you're going to go to roocode.com and you can see that it says your AI powered dev team right in your editor. And we'll see that that's kind of true. So you can click on installing Roo Code, or you can just go to view documentation. I'll click on view document. The documentation for Roo Code is so good. It's really incredible. They document everything. So I suggest that, if you like what I show you today, you just read the documentation to learn all the other features. But let's just go through really quickly what Roo Code is and what it can do for you. So now that we know what some of the things that Roo Code can do, and we have an idea about these modes, and notice this coding mode and the description for it, we'll see where that comes from later. But let's just click on installing Roo. And it's going to take you to this section, get installed. Now, Roo Code, like I said, it comes with incredible documentation, but also there are a bunch of YouTube videos, tutorial videos. And so you can watch these videos for how to install Roo Code, configuring the profile, and so on. So I'll show you some of this, but just know that all this is available to you. I just want to really introduce you to the tool and get you up and running. So how do we install Roo Code? Well, for us, we're going to use VSCode or any VSCode like derived editor. So you can see Roo Code is a VSCode extension. So any editor that's derived from VSCode. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to say, I've already copied my episode 12 directory, which is this is episode 12, and I copied it from episode 11. And that is because in episode 11, we created a PRD using Fabric for a to-do application. And that's what I'm going to use in episode 12 to get my AI dev team. Remember, Roo Code is your whole dev team in your editor. So I'm going to use my Roo dev team to build that application for me. So that's the goal. And so I'll show you how to do it. So then once you do that, you just cd into your episode 12 directory and you can launch your editor. And of course, once you launch your editor, there is the PRD for our to-do application that we created using Fabric in episode 11. Now I'll close this and now let's install Roo Code. So you're going to go here to extensions and you're going to search for Roo Code. Once you find Roo Code, you'll see this thing come up with a kangaroo. I wouldn't suggest you install nightly because that is going to be on the bleeding edge. And so while you may get all new features, you might also get new bugs. So don't do that. And that's not my suggestion. And so once you click install and it's installed, you don't have to worry about the screen. The screen is just telling you the same thing that's basically on the page for documentation. So just close it. How do you access it now? So let's go back here, look for files. So this is your sidebar with icon. And so VS Code has a secondary sidebar, which you can open with this icon. You can see toggle secondary sidebar. And so if you click that, you have this other side. Now yours is not going to be as wide as mine. It'll probably be something that narrow like this, probably. And you might see not Roo Code open here, but rather GitHub Copilot if you're using VS Code instead of like Codium or something. So don't worry if you see this thing that says additional views, just click on it. And in it, you're going to see Roo Code, GitHub, or whatever, GitHub Copilot. Just select Roo Code, and that's it. Once you select Roo Code, and of course, you can just open up this window, and you'll see them side by side, and you can just select Roo Code. Okay, so with Roo Code open, a little bit, you're not going to see a window like this. Instead, what you're going to see, if you're doing this the first time, is the setting menu or settings. And with the tabs, provider tab selected, there's auto approve, and all these are just tabs. We're going to start with the provider tab. The providers tab is just like we did in Misty and in Open Web UI, where we're able to say which AI provider we want to use, give it our API key, and select a model. So in this case, I click plus. Yours is going to say default here. Just click plus and give it a name. So my suggestion is to create 2 types of profiles. And those profiles can still point to the same AI provider, but you're using two slightly different models. You're going to use like either a coding model for doing coding type things, and you can use a reasoning model for doing non-coding type. So I would say here, type a name so that it's clear for you. So you can see I have Gemini 2.5 reasoning. You don't have to call it that. You could just call it Gemini reasoning or reasoning, up to you. But I have the default. I ignore that and I just click plus like I showed you. I have an Anthropic for my coding. So I should probably call this Anthropic coding model. Anthropic coder. And check that. That just renames it. This is, I select the API provider's Anthropic. I put my Anthropic key and I use Claude Sonic for coding as my coder. And if I want to do chat, well, it just so happened that it's also Sonic. But you can see if I use Gemini, you'll see I have Gemini coder model. That's the name I give it. Remember, I can choose the name here by renaming the profile or adding more profiles. I choose the API provider, and this one is Gemini, Google Gemini. I put my Gemini key. I scroll down, and this is preview for the coder. Okay. And then if I go to Gemini reasoning model here, you'll see Gemini reasoning model. You'll see that same API key, by the way. So you don't need multiple keys, same key. And it's just going to allow you to see what models are available for you using that API key. And notice now this is the thinking model. Before it wasn't the thinking model. So with those two models configured, I'm ready. You don't have to configure all the other models that you see I have here. Notice you see I have Ollama ones and so on. Those are not going to work for you. And I'm going to tell you why. So if you look at Gemini, for example, you look at max token. Here it says max token is 65,000. That's not actually true. Gemini models, the max output tokens is like 65,000 tokens, but input is actually 1 million tokens. So it's quite a lot. And even if you select, like, let's say, Anthropic, and by the way, Roo Code is really focused around using Claude model from Anthropic. And if you look, you can see same thing. They support a large number of input tokens. And if you think about it, if Roo Code is your dev team, it might need to read a large number of files, send it to the model for the model to be able to fix an error or plan or something like that. So if you're using something like, Ollama Destral, we just have 32,000, tokens, that's not going to be enough. So even though you see me configure it here, it's more like to show you that you can create a model profile, give it some name, like in this case, Ollama Destral. Select Ollama as your API provider. This is saying that Ollama is running locally, but I can also choose to have Ollama on a completely different server. Like in this case, where I have a server where within my network, and there is Ollama running there on a more beefy server, and so I could do all that. Same thing. But notice I don't have the ability with my Ollama models to really set the max token, but by default, these Ollama models, they only come with like 32,000 input tokens, and that is not enough to be used by Roo Code. It's going to fail. And there's a way for you to have Ollama models have larger context windows, but that's going to increase the size significantly. So really quickly, I've tried this with a 8 billion parameter Ollama model where I tried to configure Ollama to change that model. So save it to a new model with a increased token length of, I think, 200,000 tokens. And that blew up the model size to like 40 gigs. So to save you the trouble, unfortunately, you're not going to be very successful using Roo Code and Ollama. So just go sign up at Gemini or, OpenAI, AI or Anthropic and get a public key, get a key and get an API key. And many of those allow you to use a certain amount of tokens for free. You might have to set your rate limit. So for example, if you select Anthropic, for example, you might have to go in and set rate limit so that it doesn't keep timing out. So the rate limit is the frequency or how often it should, the minimum time it should wait between requests. So based on the key you have, you should be able to set that. All right. So enough talking. So once you've done configuring your provider, that should be straightforward. Auto approver, it tells you exactly what auto approver does. It basically says, Roo, if you need to read a file, go ahead and do it without asking me. If you need to write a file, go do it without asking me, blah, blah, blah. The whole list there. This to-do list is when you ask Roo to, let's say, implement an application for you. It's going to come with a list of tasks to do. And it's like, do you want me to ask you every time I go to do something or auto approve? And you see, I've checked the to-do to say auto approve. And you're going to see that being used. Subtask is what the orchestrator is going to use. So again, if the orchestrator comes up with a bunch of subtasks, do you want to be prompted to see each subtask, or should it just automatically go ahead and do it? And then at the bottom, you have commands that it can execute. And you're going to see how this is going to come in handy. So if any of these look like, oh, I don't have those in my list, just add them. And notice to add a command, if it's something like a command that has subcommand like go, you want to definitely put a space. So let me remove go, for example. And so the way I would add go is to say go space and then add that. Same thing with cd. When you want to cd to a directory, it's going to be cd space and something. So I had that. Flutter, same thing. So I had Flutter here because I'm going to ask it to also implement our to-do application in HTML and CSS JavaScript. And then later on, I'm going to say re-implement the same application in Flutter. And so I have that. Okay, so you click save. And the only thing I can say, the only thing I have here is that I do not check these reading and writing outside of this directory that I'm working in. So that's why I'm comfortable having it auto approve for the things that I'm working on. I don't have to worry about it going out. All right, you can click done. I don't think you should worry about the other things there. Now, if we, at the bottom here, you have your mode selection. Remember, you can select Orchestrator, Debug, blah, blah, and you can see the description, which we saw in the documentation. But if you click on settings here, you can then see that you can configure the mode further. You can say for the orchestrator, I want it to use Anthropic chat or whatever. And in this case, I'm going to say I want my orchestrator to use Gemini reasoning model. So where's my model? Oh, I put F. Oh well. And then it gives a description, a role description, and sure, this role description is for you. This is not what is sent to the AI. What's sent to the AI is in the system prompt, and you could copy and look at it. And these are the instructions for the orchestra. You don't have to worry about it, but it's just a few periods of all that stuff. And for coding, I wanted to use Gemini Coder. Make sure it's orchestrator. Yep, Gemini reasoning, coding, asking question, Gemini reasoning. I'm gonna change that. Debugging, Gemini Coder. And so I can click done. Again, there's nothing else for you to do there. Once you click a model here, it's going to automatically switch the profile. But if you wanted to change it here for whatever reason, you can just do that. So let me go back and fix this. Edit. It's supposed to be Gemini. Like that. Okay. It's going to update it all over. So you don't have to worry about that. So how do I get this to build this application? Well, I can just ask it. I can say, please create the application described in this file. And at means, like give it context. And so you can choose a problem to command to execute in the terminal, URL, a directory to access. But in this case, I'll say this file. The file I want is the to-do. So there we go. And now I could press enter or send message. And the architect is going to get this and start working on it. And so if you do that, you can see that it's thinking. You can open up this window if you like, but it went by so quickly. Here's the advantage of using one of those online models is that they're really fast compared to something that's local. But you can see how it's thinking. And then now it came up with the to-do list. And if we scroll down, it says, oh, try using, okay, but for some reason, that fails, so I don't know. Let's go with, okay. That error message didn't make any sense, but let's go with, the plan looks good, proceed with implementation. So click on that. And it's going to execute those tasks. Now, if it's asking you a question, as you can see, I hover over it. If you just click it, it sort of sends that, it puts that text here and submit it. But if you want to modify it for whatever reason, you can just click this edit button and it puts the text here, but allow you to modify the text, add more information, whatever. And as you can see, this is the cost for me implementing this application. You can see it went through the to-do list and it didn't prompt me for each item in the to-do list because this is auto approved for me, but it ran through and said it completed the to-do application. So now I can ask it to run it or I can run it. And so if I go to my command line, we can say open, or we can say index.html, and here's our to-do application. And we can say add task, add a task. We have a button to check off a task is complete. You can delete the task. You can say task 1. Let's zoom in a little bit. Task 2, task 3. And notice this is a lot better than the one we had created in the other thing. So we can delete that. We can mark this task as done. We can uncheck task. We can clear completed task. Let's do task 4 and add it, enter to add it. We could complete all tasks, I guess. Was active. Oh, we can filter. Oh wow, that's fancy. We can filter and look at completed task, active task, or all tasks. So let's see we complete the task. We can just filter for all completed tasks, active task only, and then we can show all tasks. So maybe we just want to keep it on that. So you can see this is really, really cool. And why don't we ask it to add the ability to edit tasks? So let's go back to Roo. And let's say add the ability to edit a task description or task title, or just edit a task. Let's see what it does. So it's gonna go and it's going to probably switch. Yep, it looked like it already finished before I could finish talking. Let's go back here. Let's refresh. And so we still have our task. So no, there's no ability to, I don't see anything here to edit tasks. Okay, I can say the button doesn't exist to edit task. Right. So it says that how the ability already exists, but I don't see the button. So let's see. Notice I haven't implemented any, I haven't written any code. This is this new thing called vibe coding, where you just use natural language. And notice, yep, we do have the ability to edit a task now. So I can do edit and I can change the task 5, and sure enough, edit works. What I'm gonna ask it is, if I select if a task is completed, remove the edit button. So I'm gonna say, if a task is complete, hide or disable the edit button. Let me see which one it's gonna choose to do. And see, task complete. Let's go back here, refresh. Refresh. So it's not doing it. Oh, let's see. Maybe this edit. Oh yeah, it disabled it. Okay. Let me just say hide the edit button. So that's it, because it still looks like it's enabled. you don't know that it's disabled. So let's go refresh, and if I check this, there we go. Again. So now I can say implement this as a Flutter application. So now I can say implement this as a Flutter application in a new directory, and I can sit back and watch that happen. So it says it came up with a plan. I mean, I suggest you check it over and see if this is what you want. But I'm gonna say proceed with implementation. And as you can see, for Flutter, it has to create a new directory. It's gonna call it Flutter to do app. It's gonna do all this stuff, like, yeah. And then, yeah, proceed with the plan. I don't want to change anything. And there you can see Flutter create, runs an application. Remember, I had that auto approve command for Flutter in my list. It's down the bottom here somewhere. It's not scrolling up, but it's on the here that I had Flutter as a command that it can run. So it's doing exactly that. I had cd, it did that. So all right. All right, so I'll let this run, but in closing, the reason for not being able to use your Ollama models on your computer is because the context window for the Ollama models are like either 32,000 tokens or something, and Roo needs a lot of context because you have to read a lot of files, a lot of data to send to the model for it to work on. And so you'd have to modify your Llama model for a larger context window. But even if you take like a 8 billion parameter model, which is like 5 to 7 gigs, and you save it, you can do this with Ollama, you can increase the context length. Guess what? That becomes like a 40 gigs model just by increasing the context length alone. It's still 8 billion parameter, but now becomes a much larger model, and then you can't load it. So the fact is that Ollama on your machine, unless you have a lot of memory, is not going to work with Roo. So this is doing all this stuff, creating all this stuff in this directory. And so I'm not going to keep you here to see the results. So let's notice while I was talking, that was running real time, and it used 6 cents. So notice how quickly this was completed. It cost me 6 cents to have this done, and it was done real time. I did not speed it up. And so let's just see if we can ask it to run the Flutter application. And so you really so here it's asking me permission to run, but notice I have it auto approved for CDN, so it did that, and it's going to, I don't have to touch anything. So I'll just keep my mouse away. So it's just waiting for the application to come up. It's monitoring the console. It's loading there. Let's do this. Let's close here. We don't need to see the files that were created. And it's going to start it. So yeah, that's it. I'll leave it here. While this is coming up, I'll just close this out and say thanks for watching. It does help being able to your thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and giving a thumbs up to the video, and thumbs up and liking the video. So I hope this was helpful in terms of introducing you to Roo Code and showing you how it can be productive. I can help you be productive. I hope this was helpful in terms of introducing you to Roo Code and show you how it can help you to be productive. Please, if you haven't, subscribe, and thumbs up the video. It really does help. Just simply leaving the thumbs up on the video makes a big difference. It highlight the video for others. I would like the channel to grow. So I appreciate it if you just take 1 second to thumbs up the video and say thanks for the work I put in. So let's try this. Task 1, add task. Let's do task 2, add task. Task 3, add task, and notice I can also mark this as done. And the same thing, it disabled the edit button that just like in the UI, can edit it. I can click here to edit this, and I can do task 5, press enter. I can delete the task, and so on. Same functionality as before, and we have like all active and completed tasks. So that is pretty cool. Look how quick we get an application. Okay, so I'll leave it here. Thank you so much. If you're not a subscriber, please consider subscribing. I'd love to have you. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. Thanks for your patience coming back. And if you don't mind, regardless if you're subscribed or not, please just give the video a thumbs up. It really does help. And it's like saying thanks for putting the time into the video. I would really appreciate that. But really what a thumbs up does is just help others find the video and help the YouTube algorithm show it to others. And I would really appreciate your help in spreading the videos. Okay, take care, stay safe, see you in the next video. Bye.